Hey guys, how's it going? So this is Sennheiser's brand new flagship for 2025. This is the Sennheiser HDB 630, and this kind of came out of nowhere. And I had no plans on getting this. I have a billion headphones, and I only have two ears. This stuff cost me a lot of money. Since I'm still a smaller YouTuber, a lot of these I'm buying myself. I'm not getting these sent to me. But there was one thing that really intrigued me, which might seem unusual. Well, obviously, apparently, this has the best sound quality out of any Bluetooth headphone out there. And I was like thinking, like, man, how much better can it possibly get? And spoiler alert, and I'll get into the sound quality a little bit more later on, it is a lot better than pretty much any other Bluetooth headphone that I've used. But there might be some caveats to that, and I'll get to that. But this was the main reason why I got this. This little dongle right here, it is a Bluetooth dongle, so it's not like a gaming headset where it's using a 2.4 gigahertz connection, which, you know, would have been a little bit more ideal, but there's no other Bluetooth headphones that really have this. And what this is, it allows you to get the full bandwidth out of the Bluetooth protocol known as Qualcomm's aptX Adaptive. And it is different from Qualcomm aptX HD. Adaptive is the highest bandwidth version. Weird naming convention from Qualcomm, but that's just the way it is. And the main reason why I wanted that is because I had switched over the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Well, at the time, since that time I gotten bored and I switched over to the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. So when I made this purchasing decision, I thought iPhone was going to be my phone for the rest of the year, but I love tech too much and I get bored. But anyway, iPhone restricts Bluetooth to only AAC, which isn't as high of a bandwidth as any of the aptX out there. So for me to get lossless out of my iPhone wirelessly, I would have to rely on this dongle. Setup is not extremely straightforward. Just refer to the manual if you end up getting this. The first thing I noticed was that there was a good amount of lag, good amount of latency, and like not even just for gaming, but when I was just watching YouTube videos, I saw some lip syncing issues. So I have a default set to green. If you triple press it, it turns white. So I had it set to green, and that brings up a low latency mode, which eliminates what I was just talking about. But when you first set it up, it might be purple, like this. You do get better audio quality a little bit from what I was able to tell. Not a crazy amount, but if you're going to be watching movies or gaming on this, then you want to have it set to green, which I did find interesting. I didn't think I would have to mess with that too much. So depending on your use case, you might want it in either the purple mode or the green mode. And another thing that I wanted is I recently got the ROG Ally X, and unless I want to carry around a gaming headset with one of those dongles, just being able to carry around one Bluetooth headphone and also being able to use the dongle on one of these USB ports on the ROG Ally just made my life a little bit more convenient. So that was great. Believe it or not, most of you guys aren't getting the best audio quality out of Bluetooth because iPhone, like I mentioned, only supports AAC, and the Pixel series only supports aptX HD, not the full aptX Adaptive. And ironically, even the Galaxy series doesn't support aptX Adaptive. The only full way to really get the aptX Adaptive is if you have like a phone from OnePlus, Nothing, etc. And in terms of market share, those guys just don't have as much. So 90% of the population won't be getting the full audio quality if you're using Bluetooth mode unless you use this dongle. I wish they would just standardize one Bluetooth protocol that has the full bandwidth and that every manufacturer could use instead of them all coming up with their own. So that was a bit of a rant, but that's kind of what pushed me over to getting this headphone, even though I didn't really need it. So let's just get into the rest of the review. So the build quality, I don't know how I was supposed to feel about it, especially since this is a $500 headphone. It doesn't feel incredibly high quality. It feels a little bit cheap. A lot of that is probably because it's light, which for headphones is not a bad thing. I wish they would at least use soft touch plastic here instead of just like a hard, cheap feeling plastic. Doesn't really inspire too much confidence, and it doesn't really make me feel like I spent $500. But I will admit though that the $500 that you're spending is not necessarily for the build quality and materials. Coming around to this part right here, you would assume that it is metal, and it looks like metal, but it's actually plastic, which is a bit disappointing. This is something I am concerned about long term. I don't know how this will hold up, especially since you're doing a lot of turning with this. Would this eventually snap? Hard to tell. Sennheiser has been making headphones for a very long time, so they're pretty known for being durable. So I think they knew what they were doing. The headband area is made out of metal, but it is not a very high quality metal. At first, I couldn't even tell what it was, but it is actually metal, but it feels like a very cheap, low quality type of aluminum. Maybe it's mixed with some plastic. It's one of those alloys that some cheaper laptops tend to use where they could get away with saying that it's metal, but it actually feels like plastic. There's a good amount of padding on the headband area, and it is some type of rubbery silicone material. And on the back of the headband, there is a fake type of protein leather here that doesn't really feel like leather. It just, again, feels like more like a rubbery silicone type of material. And also, in terms of design, it is very simple. Like, you could misunderstand this for maybe like a $90 headphone that you would buy at the airport or something. Very, very basic, very, very simple. Maybe that's what they were going for. So, buttons. I do like to see as much physical buttons as possible. It just makes it so much easier to navigate through the different functions that this headphone offers. The only button you have is an on and off button. It also doubles as a way to turn on and off the noise cancellation. But the right ear cup is touch sensitive, and it does a whole bunch of things. You could increase the volume, lower the volume, swipe left or right to switch tracks. But one thing I do like, you can pinch downwards to increase the noise cancellation, and if you pinch outwards or upwards, it changes between noise canceling and transparency. It essentially replicates what's going on here. So where you can have the noise canceling all the way up to 100%, and you can go and you can decrease the amount of noise cancellation. And if you keep pinching, then it'll gradually change the amount of transparency from 0 all the way up to 100. So at 100%, the transparency mode is louder. And when the ANC is 100%, the ANC is more effective. So might as well be a good time to get into the noise canceling and the transparency performance, and it is not bad. It is probably flagship level from 2023 or even 2022, which isn't bad. If you're coming from any of those flagship headphones from like 2023 or 2024, I don't think you're gonna get much of an upgrade. I think it is better from what I remember than the Momentum 4s. But since the Bose Quiet Comfort series came out, the AirPods Pro 3 and even the Sony XM6s came out, the Sennheiser HDB 630s just are not going to be able to hold a candle to what the noise canceling is able to do. The Sony XM6s are just going to destroy the Sennheiser HDB 630s in terms of noise canceling. But I really feel, though, I mean, yes, I would always love to have more noise canceling and better noise cancellation, but I still feel like the Sennheisers are good enough for just about any situation. I can imagine maybe on longer plane rides, the extra noise cancellation on the Sonys might be better. It just blocks out a lot more sound, especially those lower rumbling sounds. I'm willing to forgive that, but what I'm not willing to forgive is the transparency mode. It is just not good. And transparency mode is very important to me because I like to wear these around the house. So if someone's trying to talk to me, I want to be able to still have a conversation with them without having to take off my headphones. Or if I'm wearing this in an office setting, I want to be able to hear my surroundings and be able to interact with coworkers, etc. But I can't do that with this. Even when it's at 100%, the transparency is good enough to hear when someone is actually talking to you, but you're not going to be able to hear what they're saying. So if somebody calls your name, you're still gonna have to take off your headphones and have a conversation with them. The Sonys and the AirPods, they pretty much sound like you're not even wearing headphones at all. So because the transparency isn't as good, I'm not able to wear these in every situation, which is a bit disappointing. And when I wear these outside, I still feel like I'm boxed in and closed off. I was wearing these while walking my dog today, and I didn't even see the FedEx driver pass by. I mean, like, it's kind of dangerous, and the transparency mode needs to be better in all of these headphones. So that's a bit of a rant. I know I spent more time on transparency versus the noise canceling, but I think noise canceling is good enough on these, but I think the transparency mode is a bit of a letdown. All right, moving on. And also something that is a bit of a letdown as well, and I'm glad I waited to review this because I got to spend more time with it and I got to wear it for longer sessions, is the comfort. Overall, it's incredibly comfort. When you put it on, everything just sits nicely in your head. The headband wraps around nicely, so I'm not feeling any hot spots or anything like that. And the clamping force doesn't feel too strong, but I think what the issue is, these cushions just don't do enough to prevent fatigue from these headphones resting on my head for a while. And you can even feel it here towards the back. Even though I'm pressing this all the way down, I can still feel the hard plastic. I think they needed a little bit more padding on this. So after like wearing this for like 2 hours, I did feel some pressure around the side of my heads. And after like 3 hours, it started to hurt a little bit. It's not bad enough to like make me want to take it off and not wear it again. But you know what? For these type of headphones, competition is so strong right now to where I have to nitpick on everything, and comfort should have been better, especially since this is on the higher end of the budget for most people of what they would spend on these type of Bluetooth headphones. So not a complete fail in terms of comfort, but there is some room for improvement, especially when it comes to the padding of these cushions. All right, I've been keeping you guys waiting long enough. Sound quality is amazing. Sennheiser has mostly been sending these to audiophiles to review, at least for the first round. And I think one reason why they're doing that is because these might not be tuned for the everyday person. If you're coming from even like the Sony XM6s, these have a lot more fun sound to it. And I thought these were pretty neutral until I went back to some of my more neutral headphones, like my HiFiMan HU1000 SE. But I mean, these are gigantic wired headphones and they're out of the price range for most people. But I feel like every headphone that I've tested this year, and that includes the AirPods Pro 3, the Nothing Ears 3, the Bose, the Sony XM6s, the Sonos headphones, they all inflate the bass a bit too much. They all just do a V-shaped curve. And even me, as someone who likes neutral sound, I've been getting used to this artificial inflated sound that a lot of headphones have been doing. So when I switched over to these, everything sounded flat and a little bit dull at first, and I was thinking maybe I got a bad unit. So then I immediately started comparing it to the Sony XM6s, and then that's when I realized, whoa, these actually do sound a lot better. The detail retrieval is a lot better out there. You're hearing instruments in a more natural way, and you're hearing more subtle details in a track that you won't hear on some of those other headphones. So these do sound better, and I feel like if you don't agree with me, you probably have to spend some time for your ears to adjust, to get back to how things should sound versus all of this fake inflated bass and overly pronounced highs that most consumer-based headphones tend to be doing these days. So I think once you spend some time and get used to the Sennheisers, you will start to really enjoy the sound. Thankfully, there is an EQ and you can customize away. I don't mess with EQs. I made a rule to stop doing that a long time ago, mainly because I'm an inherent tinkerer. If I start messing around with the equalizer, I would just spend days and days, maybe even weeks, just constantly messing with the equalizer, and I just wouldn't even enjoy my headphone anymore. It'll just be hard for me to just focus on the music and just focus more on tweaking this. So I made a decision a long time ago to not mess with the equalizer. So that's why I really appreciate more than anything to have an accurate sound right out the gate. This is still fun to listen to though, and I do find myself jamming. And I mean, I'm an audio enthusiast. I spend a lot of money and a lot of time on audio products. So I wanted to give this to a normal person. So one of my friends came over and I had him listen to some of his favorite songs. We use USB audio just to make sure that we're getting the absolute best sound. And he's coming from like cheap, like $100 to $150 headphones. And he pretty much said when he heard this, his heart skipped a beat. There are some details in some of his favorite songs that he's been listening to for months and months that he's never heard before. So that is something that this headphone does offer. You just have to be willing to listen to it instead of just hoping that the bass is just nice and deep. So, but here's the thing though. I also make a lot of content on gaming-focused products, and 2025 has been the year of gaming headsets. And the two best are the HyperX Alphas 2 and also the SteelSeries Arctis Nova Elite. In terms of audio quality, is very similar to these HyperXs. These aren't really headphones that you're supposed to be taking out. It requires being connected to this gigantic dock, and it doesn't really block out much sound. There's no transparency mode. There's no noise canceling. The SteelSeries, on the other hand, does, and this is $600, and it also comes with a dock, versus this being $500. And this also does have noise canceling and transparency mode. And neither of them are that great. I mean, they're good for a gaming headset. But anyway, I could go on an entire tangent. The main reason why I'm bringing up these two gaming headsets is these sound better than the HDB 630. But also at the same time, these aren't necessarily meant to be portable headphones that you would carry around with you or go on a plane with, etc. So it depends on what you're doing. If you're spending a lot of time in an office or mostly indoors, and you don't need any type of portable headphone, I would maybe recommend going with one of these gaming headsets over the HDB 630. You're going to get much better comfort, first of all. You're going to get better audio quality, and you also get really good quality mics, if that's something you care about. The HyperX is only $300, while the Sennheiser is $600. But for $600, you do start to get noise canceling. And these all support Bluetooth, by the way, along with using their dock. So that's kind of where my mind is at. And also, but when I'm sitting down at my desk, I mean, this was a big splurge for me. This is what I'm going to be using most of the time. And because the noise canceling and the transparency isn't as good, when I'm just out and about, I'd most likely always rather just use my earpods, because if I'm out running errands, or if I'm running, or if I'm like walking my dog, I'm not really focused on having the best sound quality. I care more about having more lifestyle features. So, and that's another thing too. So now let me compare it to the Sony XM6s. If you care more about some of the stuff that I mentioned, like better noise canceling and better transparency and also more comfort, then maybe the XM6s might be a better product for you. The Sennheisers do sound a lot better, but with these type of lifestyle headphones, I don't think sound quality is the number one priority for these type of headphones. So you really have to balance what's important to you. This video is a little bit different, less analytical, just more based off of feelings. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree, if you don't agree, even better. I'd like to hear about it in the comments. And if there's any questions you have about the Sennheisers or any of the other headsets or headphones that you've seen in this video, please leave me a comment. And at some point, I do want to make like a video of all the different headphones at different price points to help you make a good decision. I'm going to try to get that out before like Black Friday, before all the sales and the deals come out, etc. But anyway, all right, guys, if you liked this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, guys. Bye.